Hello, Shiver, and everybody who found the Shark Scrapping channel. Yes, it's time to scrap out the fuel control stations. Now, remember, these were an auction win, so the local city fueling station upgraded their systems. They auctioned these off. I paid $120 total for everything you see. There's 14 of the tall stand-up stations and 5 standalone control heads. We're going to see how we do when we run the numbers on this. Those are non-magnetic stainless steel bodies, and inside is an assortment of boards and insulated copper wire and stuff. So come on, without any further ado, let's dive in and see what we're going to get out of this. Well, let's have a little bit of fun with this. Now remember, I paid $120 total for the 14 stand-ups, the 5 boxes. Why don't you go ahead and, at some point when you're ready, go ahead and leave a guess. Did I make money? Did I lose money? If you even want to be really bold, how much money did I make? All right, let's dive in and start scrapping here. We open up the stainless steel case now. This one, I had to do a little cutting. They have these locks, and unfortunately there were no keys that came with them. So when the case is locked, I have to cut in to the side so that I can get it open. Not a big deal, just a little bit inconvenient. All right. Whenever you're using a grinder, I recommend extreme caution. Make sure your grinder's safety shield is in place and that it's a newer model with a cutoff switch. You want to make sure that you have safety glasses on. A lot of debris and hot sparks flying around. Gloves, long sleeve shirt is good. I always wear my safety boots anyway when I'm at the shark cage or going to the yard. I probably should have had a hat on, a mask, and hearing protection, because that does make quite a bit of noise. I've reduced the volume a little bit for you all, but yeah, those things can get pretty loud. No excuses. I'm not going to make any justifications for not having hearing protection on. My mistake. All right, so now we get this thing opened up, and we can see right away we've got some interesting stuff here. We're going to look at each one of these boards in more detail as we pull them off. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main boards, 2 daughter boards on that board. We've got a power supply unit here, and then here we've got some connector boards. So, those are just going to be like brass pins inside of there, maybe brass pins inside of there. We've got a bunch of insulated copper wire running throughout. And then over on the door, we have a LCD display. That looks like that plate that the button panel is on is aluminum. And then we have another board right over here. Can't really tell, but I see some tantalums when I look down the side. And then we have this display, so that's probably silver mylar. So we'll see how that comes together. All right, so that is the main layout. Let's go ahead and start taking some boards off and looking at each of the boards and see what we're dealing with. All right, so we're just going to start at the top and work our way down. Go ahead and get this cable off of here. Oh, let's see here. All right, let's get the light out of the way. So we're literally going to start at the top and work our way down. Now this is interesting because this washer and the nut are split in order to go over the cable and then screw on. And those are aluminum. They weigh very little. Let me check them with the magnet real quick. So one of the benefits of trying to keep all of my workstations mobile is I can bring my tools to the heavy stuff. So this was one of the medical stands. I've got my drill bit set, or my sockets set there for easy reach, but I've used that for different tools now just as a mobile caddy. And then remember the red thing with the broken casters? Well, I was able to get that fixed. So now that provides a nice place for me to set my tools. So that helps out a lot when I'm doing something like this. All right, let's get back to this. All right, now we've got some nuts. These are only finger tight. Holding that board on. And of course we know these thumb screws are easy enough to take off here, usually, especially when you can actually get a hold of them. Sometimes on the computers it used to be hard to get a hold of them. Oh, that board wanted to just come right off by itself. All right, so we have a insulated copper wire gold pins. So these I'll cut off and throw in with the gold connector ends. Let's go ahead and take a look at this board since it decided to just come right off. It has two daughter boards on it, and they are held on by little plastic risers. They go down to what appears to be a power distribution board, set of boards. I'm thinking that because this is well, I don't know. This is probably power distribution, power and data distribution here. Would be my guess, because you've got power board here going into this panel, and then it's split, and some coming up here, some over here, and then these are feeding these. So you know that's kind of is a logical flow there. All right, let's get this ribbon wire out of the way, and just some nice ribbon wire there. All right, so this board has a nice flat pack, socket mounted. It has some ICs. These are capacitors, so I can look under the magnifying glass and see if those are tantalums, if I want to mess with that. Probably not. We've got a mid-grade board here if I leave some of the stuff on. So I'm going to pull this gold jumper. I'll probably pull that flat pack off of there. There's an oscillator right there. But otherwise, that's a mid-grade board. Okay, this plastic risers here. So we'll just give them a cut. This is some sort of signal from the antenna on top. What I like about it is it's gold plated. Get these ribbon wires all disconnected. And we'll get you disconnected. All right, now these risers here are some sort of metallic. And oh, there's little screws there. All right, so we'll get those with the screwdriver. Set you down for a minute. All right, this board looks really nice. It's a mid-grade board, but we've got gold-plated connector end here from that from this signal cable. We've got some oscillators. We've got some nice big chunky tantalums. We got some gold-plated pins, flat packs, ICs, oscillator. So I believe what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the tantalums and maybe one of the flat packs, the jumpers, the gold-plated connector, and then chuck this in with the mid-grades. All right, the board that it was on has got some nice stuff. This might go as a periph. I don't know if you could call this well, for my yard, I could put this in with my high-grade boards very easily, no trouble at all. Board sort, I'm thinking peripheral, so Chris, if you're looking at this and you want to confirm that, that'd be great. But here's the things that we're finding on here. We've got socket-mounted flat packs, we've got board-mounted flat packs, we've got ICs, we have a gold-edged oscillator, jumpers, of course, oscillators. I don't see any tantalums, but there are some relatively good-sized MLCCs there. Dip switch, and nothing on the back. So, for my yard, high grade, even if I decide to pull, maybe pull off that socket-mounted flat pack, maybe an IC and that gold-edged crystal oscillator, this would still go as a high grade for my yard. Again, you need to understand what your yard would treat it as. And that's only because my yard does not do telecom and periph and that kind of stuff. So they have a pretty wide range of what they consider high grade. All right, let's see. We were up here at one point, so let's go ahead and get you disconnected. Now, this is going to be an antenna. Because this was a city fueling station, you know, probably what this did was when one of the city vehicles pulled up, it sensed that a city vehicle was there, or this was sending data back to a control center of some sort. You know, after somebody pumped fuel, this probably was sending some data back to the control center. All right, and we've also got some insulated copper wire here. It's more like coax. In fact, it is coax. It's not more like coax, it is coax. Pretty high grade coax though, so I may go ahead and put it in with my number 2 just because it's not that much of it. Or I might throw it in with the shred. Okay, what's next? Oh, this board here. So another mid-grade board. It has a daughter card sitting on it, which is some sort of connection. There's some Phillips screws there that I need to take off to be able to get that daughter card off. There isn't much underneath of it. It's got some MLCCs. It's got a tiny little gold-edged crystal oscillator, and then some flat packs BGA. There are on the board itself. There's a tantalum and an IC, and some more MLCCs. Nothing on the back. So, you know, this could easily go as a mid-grade board with my yard. I'll probably pull off that gold-edged crystal oscillator, an IC chip, maybe some MLCCs, and then put this in with the mid-grades for my yard. All right, this board is just slid into a bracket. So again, for my yard, this is well, if I leave stuff on here like the tantalum and that gold-edged crystal oscillator, I could probably get away with throwing this in the mid-grades. However, it's got some junk on it. If I pull that gold-edged oscillator and that tantalum and that jumper, and the ICs, then it's very clearly a low grade. So I think that's what I'm going to do, just so there's no questions about it. Oh, a MOSFET and a heatsink. Yeah, so I think I'm going to depopulate this board and then throw what remains in the low grade. All right, now these two boards are identical. Let's go ahead and pull one of them. Again, it's got this plastic riser, nylon riser on it. Actually, somebody twisted those down pretty tight. All right, now these connectors should just pull right off. Nice wire harness there. All right, so this board is an interesting grading challenge. We've got ICs, a flat pack, of course gold pins, and a jumper. Tiny little might be tantalums, those little yellow blubbies. These, I bet you, are going to have silver contacts in them. Yep. So with these, you can see there's the copper coil, there's the contacts, and there's little tiny silver buttons on each one of those. So now the question for me is, do I want to take the time to pull these off, which means that I have to take additional time to get at the little silver contacts and get the copper off of there? Or do I just pull these ICs? And then the bigger question is mid-grade or low-grade? With my yard, the way I bring things in is I will hand them the high-grade bin first. That way they can go through it, and if there's anything that they're uncomfortable with, they can throw it into the mid-grade. Then they go through the mid-grade bucket. If there's anything they're uncomfortable with, they can throw it in the low-grade. So this is clearly not a high-grade board, so this would go into the mid-grades. If I pull off a few of these ICs and the jumper and even one or two of these, I could probably still get away with mid-grade. So that's my plan, mid-grade. Okay, here we have a pretty typical power supply board. It is on a steel plate and then an aluminum heatsink. So we will pull that steel plate, we will pull the board off of the aluminum heatsink. These MOSFETs I can very clearly see the copper plates on the MOSFETs. Nice transformer there, some copper toroids there. So I could either just chuck the board part in with my low grades, or I could pull the transformer and chuck what's left into the low grades. Depends on how much time I want to spend working on this board. But the steel plate will come off, the aluminum heatsink will come off, and then it's just what do I want to do with the board. we've already looked at this board that was identical to this one. There's no difference here. Hi-da-di-di-do-di-do. All right, and then we've got these distribution type things down here and cable harnesses. This is a safety switch for making sure that when this is open, it probably shuts down the power or something like that to prevent people from getting hurt. There will most likely be a silver contact inside of that. This is interesting because you've got a phone jack. Looks like a phone jack here. That's a pretty heavy duty connector there. So I'm guessing that I can't imagine why they would have such a heavy duty connector here for something that's just clearly a phone jack. Weird. Yeah, that's all that is a phone jack. That's an interesting one. And these look like brass nuts on here, brass nuts and washers. Let's check them. Oops, magnet's over here, dummy. Yeah, that's brass. Huh, interesting. Get you guys disconnected so I can get this thing off of here. All right, we got it screwed in here, so I'm gonna need to get the right size connector on it. All right, let's get this stuff pulled out of the way. It's just some more insulated copper wire with another computer type connection, VGA type thing. Okay, cable harnesses are out of the way for a little bit. Let's see, what size are you? Quarter. So those are 1/4 inch. I love this new DeWalt driver. This is the DeWalt Compact Series, 20 volt. Nice and small for getting into tight spots. Got this little light, which comes in real handy. And instead of my drill, where, you know, it'd be on, this thing just zips it right off. Sometimes you get a little creative in where you can fit it in, but all right, so this thing is interesting. You got some connector pins. I mean, look at that. That looks like that's some pretty heavy grade stuff for just a phone connection. Let's see what happens if I try to unscrew one of these things. Huh. Man, I don't know. It's like, looks like a brass connection there. I wonder if that's a fuse. That might be a fuse. It doesn't tell me what it is. but it could be a fuse, and it going to that phone jack may have been for troubleshooting. That could be what we're dealing with here. Interesting. All right. That's just plastic. Goes in the garage. This plate is a stainless steel plate mounted inside of here, so that's going to have to come off. Let's get these guys off here. Pardon my big head. That's just upside down, kind of weird. Let's just do this. There we go. That's a little bit easier. All right. Even my favorite tool, my new favorite tool, is not always the best tool. Because sometimes it's just not the right size. All right. I'm guessing there's another little, yeah, there you go. There we go. That screw must have been sheared off or something. All right. Let's get that disconnected down here. All right, so here we have a very nice wire harness. And we can see that with these distribution points here, there's a keeper plate, and then there's these plugs that are all numbered. How's that for somebody thinking ahead, so that the technician would know what he was connecting stuff to, or she. And let's see. I think a flathead would do that. Skinny little flathead should get that out of there. There we go. I just happen to have a skinny little flathead screwdriver. Not much there. There's metal grabber like claws. They grab onto the frame inside there. I don't know what I want to do with that. Then each one of these things comes off. And then each side of each one of these is the plate where the wire was screwed down in. So you had the wire going in here, screwed down, and then, you know, it could come out the other end, depending upon what it was doing. So I can either take the time to try to break all that out of there, or I can just throw the whole thing in with shred, because there's going to be a lot of shred coming out of this. And so even though this is more plastic than that little piece of metal, in total, with all the stuff that's going to get in the shred bucket, that's going to be minuscule. I also believe that the best way to deal with this is going to be with a hammer. Now we get that keeper plate off of there. Yeah, see, as I beat on it, they just slide down there, and then they'll just keep sliding, popping off one at a time. And then I just cut the wires off of them. So that'll be the plan for the cable harness. Oi, 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 out the way. All right, and this was that phone jack that was up here. This is some insulated copper wire and connectors. All right, so wire, that's the Mylar backing. Some more ribbon wire. There was a card swipe here. No, card swipe here, and this is some sort of reader, like, you know, so they probably held their ID badge up there or something like that. Again, this was a city fueling station, not general public, so so it's a similar kind of concept to a you know, a regular gas station, but it had to know that you were an authorized user before it would let you get fuel. All right, what do I want to take out of here first? Let's get these screws off of here first. So this is the credit card reader. Solved. Okay, so this is plastic, and there'll be a little reader head right there and some wire. So nothing too exciting there. This board, I'm going to go ahead and pull the tantalums, the ICs, the MLCCs, and then throw this in with the low-grade boards because there just isn't much to it. Let me wrestle with that. All right, so now we've got a lot of nuts here that have to come off. So let's bring over a little bucket. And as the nuts come falling off, hopefully they'll hit the bucket. Could have a bigger bucket, that would have helped, but oh well. And what size are you? There we go. What did you turn out to be? 11/30 seconds. I bet you this is a metric. But it doesn't matter. Close enough. And that would be the plate that holds the Mylar. Let's get this other backing plate off. Okay. So that's stainless. That, I'll bet you that's aluminum. It just doesn't look the same as this. We'll have to get that busted off of there. It's kind of glued on. But let's get this board off of here. Pretty classic connector board here with gold pins, so that can go in with my gold pin connection, because otherwise it'd just be low grade and that would be silly. Get these nylon riser or screws off of here. Come on, you. There we go. All right, we'll separate this in a minute. This is a classic LCD type screen. These are actually little circuits. There'll be some gold tracing on the other side. Let's go ahead and get those. So you just line these guys up, or gals, depending upon what you like to call your scrap. Give them a little twist. There we go. This is pretty classic for LCDs. All right, then you've got the glass here will be inside a metal frame. This metal frame might be stainless, so we'll check that. The glass itself has indium tin oxide coating. Indium is a rare earth element, so some of you are probably collecting the LCD screens for the indium tin oxide, ITO. I am, when they're this small. I'm collecting these, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do with them yet. I haven't found a market for them yet. The metal frame is ferrous, okay? And then typical of an LCD display, you've got this white plastic panel, and when you pop that off, they'll be, sometimes they come off easier than other times. Like whenever you're recording it, they don't want to play. And you can see all the little gold. There's a plastic coating over top of those little gold peaks. And then there's gold flashing on here. So for gold recovery, those of you that are into it, this is a potential source. Plus you've got these gold plated pins. There we go. Sounds like aluminum. Feels like aluminum. Let's go find out for sure. This was free. Somebody gave it to me. This is the medical stand, was given to me, so this is all a free setup for me. Stainless. See the sparks? Look down here for the sparks. So we know that's stainless. No sparks, aluminum. Okay, let's get the switch out of here. So there'll be a silver contact inside of that. And I want to get the bracket off of it too right away. Flathead. And then some and then some nuts. Okay. And you're just steel. All right, that one's gone. These guys need to come out. Oh, jumping Jiminy Christmas. Here we go. Trash. Let's see if this plate is aluminum. Yeah. So that plate is aluminum. That was where the power cord came in. Does not surprise me that that's aluminum. This is another one of the door locks. Of course, that's not the same size. Can you believe this stuff? And that's steel. Wheel? Pretty sure it's steel. No. See, that's why you check stuff. The frame itself is stainless, but this part here where the lock went in is ferrous. But the rest of it is stainless. So that should be able to pry out easily enough. Famous last words. There we are. All right, so stainless and ferrous. And this one was left on the door from where I had to cut my way in. So let's go ahead and get that one taken apart. I probably should check those nuts because those nuts are stainless. Okay, so now we have to get the lock off of the door. And it has a large nut on it that should unscrew once we get it started. All right, so there was the locking mechanism, and there was the nut. That's going to be either brass or aluminum. I'll check that. Or ferrous. All right, now then, this locking mechanism is, you can see there's brass there. So you can see that there's brass inside the stainless steel body with a ferrous core. I could take the time to try to take this apart. There's, you know, keeper screws there. Or I could chuck it in the bucket, because I got a lot of these to work on. It's going to take me a little while. All right, now we've got the pad here. Has 2 little nuts on it. I don't think those are 1/4 inchers, but maybe. Maybe. They are 1/4 inchers. We'll get that. That's just a keypad reader. Now, each one of these screws has another little nut on it, and unfortunately the thread is too long for me to get the This is a great example of process learning. I tested a couple of different sockets that were deeper and found a 1/4 inch socket that was deep enough to fit over the screw thread. So in subsequent scraps, I was able to get those nuts off of there much faster. I'm curious. I'm curious. Nah, Ferris. All right. Nice stainless steel plate, and we'll have to get these off. The other risers were stainless steel, so these are not responding to a magnet. So these are either going to be aluminum or stainless steel. So we'll check these as well. The risers on the backing board turned out to be aluminum, so that was a nice little aluminum score there. This is a very cool gadget, and I found this in a toolbox on a street scrap, but I can put it at an angle and then unscrew things. Is that cool or what? It got even cooler when I realized that the angle attachment can come off of the handle and go on the DeWalt power driver. Awesome, man. I was ripping through those doors in subsequent scraps. You know, I remember when I found this thinking to myself, that's a really cool tool. I don't know if I'll ever get to use it, but it's a really cool tool. Whew. Okay, cool tool. I got to use it. You're off. Everybody is off. I guess it saw me reaching for the hammer and decided, all right, we're going to play. Ooh. Alrighty then. So, now we have to get this plate off of here, and that's a flathead screw there. It's probably just one of those twist-off kind of things. Well, screw. It's a Ferris screw. Nothing down there. Alright, so that's just a nice piece of clean stainless. Man, those guys are heavy too. Alright, so now I think we're down to removing this piece. Now we've got some screws. And let's see. I don't think you're holding anything on. So let's get the screws. There. So what do you all think? Did I make money on this? I spent $120 for all 14 of the stations and 5 of the small control units. Each one of these stations yielded 88 pounds of clean stainless steel. A high-grade board, some mid-grade boards, low-grade boards, a little bit of aluminum, insulated copper wire. Leave your guesses down below. Let me know what y'all think. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. There's going to be a link popping up that's going to take you to more of my e-waste scrapping adventures. And I look forward to seeing all of you again in the shark cage for the next weird thing that the shark scrapper finds.